The music industry thrives on moments that no one sees coming. One night, an artist is standing under bright lights, holding awards, delivering heartfelt speeches. The next, headlines begin to shift, conversations grow louder, questions surface, and suddenly the spotlight feels very different. That is exactly what unfolded around Billie Eilish in the days following the Grammys. What began as a powerful moment on one of music's biggest stages has now turned into a complicated and widely debated situation. Reports began circulating that a studio project involving Billie had quietly changed direction. Some outlets described it as a cancellation, others framed it as a professional separation. Social media, as it often does, moved much faster than official statements, and before long the phrase "fired by studio" was everywhere. So what actually happened, and how did comments about stolen land and immigration enforcement become part of a much larger cultural discussion? To understand the current moment, it helps to look at the context. Billie Eilish has always been known for speaking her mind. From the beginning of her career, she has blended artistry with advocacy, often using her platform to highlight social and environmental concerns. Whether addressing climate issues, mental health, or broader societal topics, she has rarely stayed silent when something feels important to her. At the Grammys, that outspokenness was once again on display. During her appearance, she made remarks that some interpreted as referencing the concept of stolen land, a phrase often connected to historical discussions about indigenous territories. She also commented on immigration enforcement, which many viewers linked to debates surrounding ICE. The remarks were brief, but in a highly televised setting, even a few sentences can ripple outward quickly. Within hours, clips were circulating online. Supporters praised her for using her voice to acknowledge historical injustices and contemporary immigration concerns. Critics questioned whether an award stage was the right setting for political commentary. Others felt her comments lacked nuance. As often happens in moments like this, social media amplified every interpretation. Then came the reports about the studio. According to available information, Billie had been attached to a creative collaboration involving a major studio. Details about the project had been limited, but insiders described it as an exciting expansion beyond music. After the Grammys, some reports suggested that the partnership had shifted. A few entertainment outlets used strong language, implying that the studio had distanced itself from her in response to the controversy. It is important to note that at the time of these discussions, no official statement from Billie herself confirmed that she had been fired. Likewise, the studio did not release a public announcement framing the change as disciplinary action. In the absence of direct confirmation, much of the narrative has been shaped by speculation. Still, perception can become its own reality. In today's entertainment ecosystem, public image is deeply intertwined with corporate relationships. Studios, brands, and artists operate in a delicate balance. When controversy enters the picture, even if it stems from a brief award speech, risk assessments often follow. Some analysts suggest that studios, particularly those with global audiences, tend to avoid entanglement in politically charged debates. Others argue that creative partnerships frequently evolve for reasons unrelated to public controversy, and that timing can create misleading assumptions. The phrase "stolen land" itself carries emotional weight. For many, it acknowledges historical displacement and colonial legacies. For others, it can feel accusatory or overly simplified. Similarly, conversations about immigration enforcement agencies are often highly polarized. By referencing these topics, even indirectly, Billie stepped into terrain that is already deeply divided. What makes this moment particularly complex is her identity as both an artist and a global brand. When a musician speaks on social issues, it can resonate powerfully with fans. But when that same musician is attached to corporate projects, additional layers of scrutiny emerge. There's also the question of intent versus impact. Supporters argue that Billie's comments were rooted in empathy and awareness. They point to her history of activism and say this moment was consistent with who she has always been. Critics, on the other hand, question whether broad statements on complex political issues risk oversimplification. And then there are those who see the entire situation as part of a broader cultural pattern. Over the past few years, artists across industries have faced intense backlash or praise for speaking out on social topics. The line between entertainment and activism has grown increasingly blurred. Yet something else makes this story linger. Billie Eilish is not an emerging artist trying to gain attention. She is already established. She has won major awards. She has headlined tours. She has cultivated a loyal global fan base. That context changes the stakes. When an artist at her level makes a statement, it doesn't just reflect personal belief, it interacts with contracts, partnerships, and multinational audiences. That's why even a subtle shift in a studio relationship can spark such intense curiosity. Midway through all this noise, a deeper question emerges. Was this truly about one speech, or is it about the evolving expectations placed on public figures in a digital era where every word can be clipped, reposted, and debated within minutes? Because here's the reality. Award shows have long been platforms where artists express more than gratitude. Throughout history, musicians and actors have used those stages to spotlight causes they care about. Sometimes those moments are celebrated. Sometimes they ignite controversy. Often, they do both. The difference now is speed. A comment that once might have sparked a few days of debate can now dominate feeds across continents almost instantly. Algorithms reward outrage and strong opinions. Nuance often struggles to keep pace. As reports about the alleged studio separation spread, fans began analyzing timelines. Some speculated that executives were responding to external pressure. Others believed the narrative was exaggerated. Without transparent communication from all parties involved, the vacuum has been filled by interpretation. This is where the story takes on another layer. Studios operate within complex business ecosystems. They answer to stakeholders, audiences, and international markets. Even the perception of controversy can influence internal decisions. At the same time, artists value authenticity. For many, staying silent on issues they care about feels inauthentic. When those priorities collide, tension can surface. It is also worth noting that creative collaborations are rarely static. Projects can change direction for artistic reasons, budget considerations, scheduling conflicts, or strategic shifts. Public speculation tends to simplify these dynamics into a single cause-and-effect storyline. But real life is rarely that tidy. Billie herself has not dramatically escalated the situation. She has not launched into extended public rebuttals or fiery social media threads. Instead, she has continued focusing on her music and appearances. That measured response has left observers reading between the lines. And that silence, in some ways, fuels curiosity even more. There is a psychological element at play here. When a beloved artist appears to face consequences for speaking out, fans often rally. They view it as a test of integrity. Others see it as a reminder that public platforms come with professional risks. So where does that leave things now? There is also something symbolic about timing. Award shows are designed to celebrate achievement. When controversy follows closely behind celebration, it creates narrative whiplash. One moment feels triumphant, the next feels uncertain. That contrast amplifies drama, even when the underlying facts remain nuanced. As the dust continues to settle, many observers are watching for clarity. Will the studio address the situation directly? Will Billie elaborate on her comments? Or will this simply become another chapter in the ongoing evolution of an artist navigating fame in a hyper-connected world? Perhaps the most intriguing aspect is how audiences interpret accountability. Some believe public figures should face professional consequences for politically charged remarks. Others believe creative freedom should include the right to express social viewpoints without corporate retaliation. The tension between those perspectives reflects broader societal divides. And yet, amid all the debate, the music remains. Fans continue streaming her songs. Concert tickets continue selling. New creative projects are reportedly still in development. The narrative of being fired may generate clicks, but it does not automatically define a career. As we look at the bigger picture, this moment feels less like an ending and more like a crossroads. It's a reminder that in modern entertainment, artistry and advocacy often intersect. That intersection can inspire, divide, or simply provoke conversation. Sometimes it does all three at once. What happens next will depend on many factors. Public memory can be surprisingly short. New headlines will emerge, fresh debates will capture attention, but the themes raised in the situation are unlikely to disappear entirely. Because at its core, this story is not just about one award speech or one reported studio decision. It's about the evolving relationship between creators, corporations, and audiences in a world where every statement echoes far beyond the stage. And maybe that's the final question lingering beneath it all. In an era where authenticity is celebrated, but controversy spreads instantly, how does an artist remain true to themselves while navigating the realities of a global industry? Billie Eilish's journey continues, the conversation continues, and as viewers and listeners, we are left to decide how we interpret both. If this story made you think, I would love to hear your perspective. Do you believe artists should use major platforms to speak on social issues, or should award stages remain focused purely on entertainment? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this deep dive insightful, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more thoughtful discussions on the stories shaping music and culture. And if you know someone who has been following the situation closely, consider sharing this with them so we can keep the conversation going. Because in moments like these, the dialogue matters just as much as the headlines.